Deep Web Chainsaw Massacre. The first time I went on the deep web, it was a complete accident. I was browsing on my friend's computer while he was sleeping. We were supposed to have a sleepover and watch horror movies all night long, but he ended up passing out because he woke up so early. I was really bored, so I decided to hop onto his computer. It was then that I realized he was into some really freaky shit. Most of his history was porn-related. I visited some of those sites, but they needed a password and username. I wasn't about to set up my own account with my information, so I kept checking out his history. I didn't know what a perv my friend was. It was really weird. Then I hit this one link that was just a bunch of numbers. The screen was black and with big white letters in the middle that said, "Welcome back, TJM, 21-234. I knew that was my friend's account because his name was Timothy James Miller. I waited for a moment while the status bar loaded, and when it finally stopped, I was shocked at what I saw. There was a live video of this room with people strapped down to tables. They were wearing nothing but their underwear. Most were squirming, trying to get out. The fear in their eyes looked real. I noticed down at the bottom corner of the screen, it had a number counting up. And the counter said, at 1 million views, one person dies. When that flashed, even more people logged in. It had to be fake, I thought. No one would actually do this except maybe a Hollywood movie. But when that number hit 1 million, I heard a chainsaw start up. A man wearing a black executioner's mask and an apron that could have been black walked into the room. Muffled screams came from the bodies on the tables as they squirmed. The man in black walked over to the first table and began teasing the leg of the first victim. He looked directly at the camera, his eyes completely black, and he smiled through the fabric. He then pulled the fabric, I think it was a sock, out of the woman's mouth, and as the blade jammed through her thigh, her scream was shrill. Blood and flesh shot from the whirring blade as she screamed, and as fragments and bone began chipping away from her upper leg, she stopped screaming and just stared at the camera with tears flowing down onto the table. I grabbed my cell phone to call the cops, and when I began to dial, the man in the executioner's hat looked at me and then shook his head no. I then noticed the recording light at the top of the monitor was on, and I realized he now knew who I was and what I looked like. He let out a laugh and started to saw the woman into pieces as she cried no more. My friend woke up and screamed at me, asking what I was doing on his computer. I watched as he sat down in awe and stared at the screen, smiling. That's when I left. I ran home a mile away without stopping, and when I got to my door, I realized I had left my phone at his house. I hope they don't hack into it and try to find me. I don't know what to do. Do I call the cops? I don't know. Help! Story number 2. Hello World. I'm a programmer, although not a very good one. I dabble in HTML and JavaScript, plus some other languages I'm learning. I do most of my work in HTML and PHP because these are easier than the rest of them. Sometimes I download bits of code to learn from on other websites I visit so I can see how they do things. These are usually websites where the code is free and open sourced. I noticed a new entry into one of the websites I visited one night. It was a small program in PHP using the MySQL database. It said I should use it to keep records of my online links and videos, so I don't lose them. When I downloaded the code and installed it on my web server, then loaded it, I played for a bit and got bored. I then noticed that someone had already been entering links into the new database. There were some domain names I recognized and others that I didn't. Some were even just IP addresses. I figured, what the hell, they must be some random numbers of nothing, so I clicked on one of them. You know when you realize that you've just done something really stupid? This was one of those moments. When I clicked on the first link, it brought me to a gun store. These weren't just any guns. These were Uzis and other weapons that are illegal just about anywhere. I didn't want to get arrested, so I quickly closed that window, but was suddenly really curious about the next link. When I clicked on it, I realized I was reading someone else's marketing page for a killing. It read, "Here you are, looking for that special no one because you want to get rid of that special someone. I'm your guy. I know how to do my job and do it well. I know how to hide the truth. I know how to hide you. If you are reading this, then you probably have found me through means that no other have bothered trying, because you were searching. You were searching for ways on how to kill your spouse or significant other in the quietest, most secret way ever. I do hope you are reading this with at least a VPN, because if you're not, they are probably after you already. As for me, they won't find me, but you better jam, and quick. If you are using a VPN, then message me at this number, but do it quickly because the number changes every 30 minutes. I require $20,000 up front, and then another $20,000 when the job is done. You will receive a picture of your victim at the crime scene, and if anything goes wrong, I have your IP address and I also have your information already. While you're reading this, I got it. Not through your IP location, but I have already scanned your hard drive. So, do you still want to do business? If not, close the window now and pretend like you have never read this message. But beware, if you tell anyone, then I will know about it, and you will quietly disappear forever. Close it now, or I will come and get you. I didn't believe it at all, so I kept the window open while I opened a browser window to the FBI website. Just then my cell phone rang from a private number. "Hello?" I answered, unsure of who might be calling me at 2 a.m. "Who are you calling?" an unfamiliar voice asked on the other end. My mom?" I said with obvious uncertainty. "This is a warning," the voice said on the other end. "If you ever call the cops about this webpage, I will know, just like I knew your phone number. I can find you, so don't do it." Then the line went dead. I closed the window and never told anyone until now. And you know what? Just a few minutes ago, my phone rang after posting this. I pressed ignore. Story number 3. I saw my friend's name for sale on the deep web. One night when I was browsing some online classifieds, I noticed an advertisement to rent weird things. That was it. It just said weird things. I thought that was really strange, so I clicked on it. It brought me to a website that didn't have a domain name, just a bunch of numbers. It looked like a normal forum until I started reading the messages. Most were messages about buying weapons, drugs, and herbal remedies, and other weird things. Nothing looked too bad except for maybe the devil's breath. I had heard about the stuff on a website called Vice. I thought that was just a sensationalist piece, so I thought this might be fake. I was really curious at that point, so I kept digging and came across a group where it said people for sale. Right, I thought, people for sale. They must be joking. Then I realized they probably weren't kidding. I started clicking on the links, and there were pictures of girls and guys with terrified looks on their faces in pictures labeled as exhibit with a number or letter above the box. They were all dressed down in white sheets and looked like many of them had been crying. Some had black eyes and others just looked disheveled or on drugs. I thought it might be a joke until I came across a picture of a girl at school as Exhibit CC. I hadn't seen her in months. They all thought she had run away, but there were strange circumstances like the weird messages on her phone she talked about. She had borrowed some money to buy a really nice handbag because her parents wouldn't buy her one. Like this thing cost around a couple grand for a stupid purse. I asked her where she got the money, and she just said that she had borrowed it online and she had to pay it back, but she was going to ditch them. And then about 2 months later, she disappears, except she had left her phone and even her handbag at the house. I knew she would never leave either of those, and something must have happened to her, but the cops said she probably didn't want to get traced since the handbag had a serial number and the phone was easy to track down, and that she probably just took off and ran away, as she fought a lot with her parents. I looked at the information, and someone named Charles was selling her for $10,000, plus travel to pick her up. They seemed to knock her price down from $100K because she wasn't a virgin and she was a smoker. I didn't want anyone buying her, so I clicked on the button to buy, and I was the first bidder at $10K. Another window popped up and said there were no returns and that I had to come up with the money if I won by the end of the week. I didn't know what to do, so I took the information to the art teacher at school. He was really friendly with the kids. I didn't want to go to the cops because I didn't know if I would get arrested for looking at the website or not. When I showed the art teacher, his face got really red, like he was mad or embarrassed, and asked how I found it. I just said I was poking around some websites and it popped up. He told me to come back to class after, and that he would help me, but as I left the room, I heard him pick up the phone and ask for Charles. I ran out of the class and back home. I told my parents I was sick and planned to ditch school that week. Every day, someone in a black van was sitting in front of my house when my parents left for work. I finally had to pretend to go to school, so I left and came back around and climbed through my bedroom window. I was just going to hide out in my closet all day when someone broke in. I could hear them going from room to room and looking for me. They came to my room and checked all of the doors and drawers. They looked in my closet, but I was hiding up in the attic in the ceiling door. I guess they didn't see it because they didn't open it. "Yeah, she's not here," I heard the guy say, and then he left. I don't know at this point what to do. I want to go to the cops, but they were watching my house every day. I was going to tell my dad, but when I looked over his shoulder, he had a picture of the website with my friend on it. He picked up the phone and dialed the number and said, "Hey, Charles, it's Frank. How much for Exhibit C?" That's when I left home. I don't know who to trust anymore. I've been sleeping in alleyways and eating out of trash cans. I traded my phone in for a cheap one with the phone company that has burner phones. I'm sure they're out looking for me, but what do I do? I'm going to call the feds tomorrow and see if they can help me. Hopefully they'll believe me and not just send me back home to my creeper dad. Hey, it's Spooky Boo Rhodes. If you enjoyed those stories, let me know by leaving a comment in the comments field or sharing with your friends. I'd also love to hear your stories, so visit me at www.scarystorytime.com/submissions and send me your Darknet horror story. I'm looking for stories on the dark web, the deep web, anything considered the Darknet, which also includes social media sites, bulletin board systems, and just about anything creepy. Because the internet really is creepy. That's all for tonight. I'll see you in your nightmares.